Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we're talking about something that's been getting a lot of attention in the Hogwarts Legacy community, the brand new PC update that dropped on October 15th, 2025. Yeah, that's right. This one's been a big deal, and not just because it's another patch, but because it actually brings some real quality of life improvements, technical upgrades, and support for some of the most requested features we've been asking for since the game launched. So let's talk about everything that came with this update, how it affects your gameplay, what's changed under the hood, and what it could mean for the future of Hogwarts Legacy. Now, first off, for anyone who hasn't been keeping track, this update is identified as build 569535 on PC. That's the one you'll see if you're on Steam or the Epic Games Store. The moment this thing went live, the patch notes showed up on WB Game Support, and the modding community noticed instantly because there were a ton of backend changes related to performance and mod support. That's one of the biggest things players were waiting for: stability improvements, better optimization, and fixes for those annoying little issues that have been lingering since the summer updates. And honestly, from what players are reporting, it actually seems like the developers at Avalanche took the feedback seriously this time. So let's start with the biggest highlight: full handheld support. If you're playing Hogwarts Legacy on a portable device like the ROG Ally or the newer ROG Ally X, this update is basically tailor-made for you. Before this patch, players using handheld PCs had to tweak their settings constantly or use community-made configuration files just to keep a stable frame rate. But with this build, support for those devices has been baked directly into the game. That means better scaling, consistent performance when switching between docked and handheld modes, and smoother frame pacing overall. It might not sound flashy on paper, but for handheld users, this is huge. It makes the experience much more stable, especially during combat or heavy traversal through the castle and open world regions like Hogsmeade or the Forbidden Forest. Another area that got some attention is the overall performance. The developers worked on improving stability for AMD hardware specifically. If you've got a Radeon GPU, you probably noticed that older patches had occasional crashes or texture pop-ins that didn't happen on NVIDIA cards. This update introduces new configuration adjustments for AMD setups, which seems to reduce those problems significantly. On top of that, Intel players got a nice surprise. There are optimizations for XES and XEFG rendering, and even something called XCLL, which helps improve frame rates on lower-end Intel GPUs. It's good to see them giving love to multiple hardware brands instead of focusing on one ecosystem. Now, let's talk mods, because the modding community is the heart of PC gaming, and Hogwarts Legacy is no exception. If you've ever used the in-game mod manager or external tools like Nexus Mod Manager to tweak your experience, you know how tricky it could be when updates broke compatibility or caused weird UI glitches. Well, this update fixes a bunch of that. One of the most frustrating bugs was the installation stalled message that would appear even when your mods were completely fine. It's gone now. There's also a fix for sorting mods by highest rated, which previously didn't work correctly. The UI has been cleaned up too. Clipping issues and overlapping menus have been ironed out, and the report mod button actually works now. One subtle but super useful improvement is that you can now access your load game menu directly from the enabled mod screen, making it easier to test changes or jump into the game after tweaking your mod list. The copy save feature for controller users also got fixed. It used to be buggy if you tried to duplicate a save file while using a controller, but now it works smoothly. For those on the Microsoft Store version of the game, there were some special fixes just for you. A handful of players had been dealing with crashes when mod VFX triggered, or when resizing the window while the game was in borderless mode. Those crashes are gone. There was also a frustrating cloud save issue that caused some players to lose progress when switching between PCs or deleting older saves. That's been addressed as well, along with a fix for pinned modded saves that weren't appearing properly after relaunching the game. It's the kind of small detail that doesn't make headlines, but makes a massive difference if you're one of the people who actually ran into those issues. Something that stands out about this update is that it feels like the developers are preparing for more than just fixes. They're clearly setting the stage for future expansions or new content. Think about it. Adding full handheld support, refining mod systems, and improving cross-platform save stability doesn't just help existing players, it builds a foundation for whatever's next. We've already seen hints earlier this year when the Creator Kit update dropped in June, giving PC players access to tools for creating custom environments, quests, and new gameplay tweaks. So this October update might not include new content directly, but it's keeping the engine healthy and making sure the infrastructure can handle more creative additions later on. Let's also talk about how the community is reacting to it. Within hours of release, the Steam forums, Reddit threads, and modding discords were full of players testing performance benchmarks, and what most of them found is actually pretty positive. Users with mid-range hardware, like Ryzen 5 CPUs paired with RX 6600 or RTX 3060 GPUs, are seeing smoother gameplay, especially in the open world areas that used to stutter during weather transitions or crowded scenes. Load times have gone down a little too. Fast travel between Hogwarts and Hogsmeade feels just a bit snappier, and there's less of that awkward hitching when assets load in the distance. One thing players are praising is how much better the frame pacing feels in this version. In previous builds, the game sometimes hit 60 frames per second, but didn't feel smooth because the frame timing was inconsistent. Now, it's noticeably more stable, which gives the impression of smoother movement, even on the same hardware. This is especially noticeable if you're using VRR displays or portable screens like the Ally's 120Hz panel. Of course, not everything's perfect. There are still some small complaints floating around. A few players on the Steam Deck have mentioned occasional micro stutters, and there's ongoing talk about ray tracing still being a bit heavy-handed for what it offers visually. But overall, this patch has been received as one of the most stable updates since launch, which is saying a lot for a game that's been out for more than a year now. Another interesting thing about this update is that it doesn't feel rushed. You can tell there was testing and intention behind the fixes. The developers didn't just throw out a bunch of vague general improvements lines. They listed specific bug fixes, explained where they applied, and even differentiated between the Steam and Microsoft Store versions. That kind of transparency is something players have been asking for, and it gives hope that future updates might continue that pattern, smaller, more focused, and actually meaningful rather than bloated or experimental. And let's be honest, this is also a quiet reminder that Avalanche Software hasn't abandoned the game. There was a period earlier in the year when updates were rare, and some players assumed they'd moved on entirely. But with the June Creator Kit and now this October optimization patch, it's clear that support is ongoing, even if they're not announcing new expansions or story content just yet. For a game that sold millions of copies and still has an active player base modding, streaming, and speedrunning it, that ongoing attention matters. Now, something I've noticed is that the conversation around this update also includes a lot of speculation about the future. Some players believe these system-level improvements are paving the way for an eventual next-gen update or maybe a major DLC. We haven't had a true expansion yet, and given how robust the world of Hogwarts Legacy is, it wouldn't be surprising if Avalanche is getting the game's technical side solid before layering new content on top. Others think they're just optimizing in preparation for a broader platform rollout or another anniversary event next year. Whatever the reason, the timing of this update, just a few months after the Creator Kit release, suggests something bigger could be on the horizon. In the meantime, though, this patch really breathes some fresh life into the PC version. It's smoother, more mod-friendly, and it feels like the game finally runs the way it always should have. Whether you're exploring the castle halls again, replaying your favorite questlines, or testing out a bunch of mods that make you a dark arts master or add new spell effects, the experience is just more stable. And that stability matters. It turns the game from something that occasionally frustrates into something that just works, letting you focus on what makes Hogwarts Legacy great: the world, the freedom, and that magical atmosphere that no other game has quite replicated yet. So, if you haven't updated yet, it's worth doing.